Welcome to the signing of the acceptance certificate for NUSHIP Canberra. I'm pleased to be joined by Warren King, CEO of the Defence Materiel Organisation, and Warren will say a few words in a few minutes. This signing ceremony represents the formal part of today's proceedings. I'd just like to say that today marks a great day for BAE Systems and the DMO as the Commonwealth of Australia accepts this mighty ship. This project stands as a great example of successful international cooperation across 3 continents. To that end, I'm delighted to see representatives from Navantia, from L3 and from Saab here, as well as the DMO and the Royal Australian Navy to witness this signing. We also have a number of local contractors who worked with our team here at Williamstown to bring this vessel to completion, and thank you again for your support. Now I'd like to introduce Warren to say a few words and then we'll get on with the signing.
Thank you everybody. I'll have some more to say later on in the ceremony. I'd just like to say that the reason that I've asked with David and others that we bring the workforce together is quite often events like this have a political angle or angles beyond those that have actually worked so hard to make this happen. And I was very, very keen that we could all celebrate this. I just said to David Shackleton walking down here, what a marvellous event for us, us associated with the Navy and Defence, because it's the first time, I think since the early 70s, that the Royal Australian Navy had had 2 ships of this sort of capacity and size. David reminded me, not quite as big as this, in inventory. The second reason I'm very excited is it's a giant step up for me personally, because until now I've only owned a tinny. And for the next 3 weeks I get to have a ship. Thank you very much for being here.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's delightful to see so many people here celebrating with us. In particular, I'd like to welcome Warren King, who's the CEO of Defence Materiel Organisation, as well as the many other members of the DMO and the Royal Australian Navy who are here to mark this event with us. Achieving acceptance of the first of class LHD, NUSHIP Canberra, is a great achievement for all involved in this mammoth project. This 27,000-ton warship is the largest vessel ever constructed for the Royal Australian Navy and will provide the Australian Defence Force with one of the most capable and sophisticated air, land and sea amphibious deployment systems in the world. Without doubt, this achievement should be seen as a significant milestone for our company, for the Commonwealth and for the Australian shipbuilding industry, and it clearly demonstrates our collective ability to operate and cooperate internationally. I would like to acknowledge our BAE Systems maritime team, led by Director Bill Salzer, the project team from the Commonwealth, as well as our project partners Navantia, L3 and Saab. Shipbuilding projects are long-term undertakings, and without the perseverance, dedication and commitment demonstrated by all the teams involved, we would not be celebrating today. Now, with the design of LHD and construction of LHD, we have achieved many firsts for naval shipbuilding in this country. Having a platform designed by Navantia, a combat system from Saab, communication systems from L3 and platform systems integration by BAE Systems was one challenge. Another was having the hull built in Spain, in parallel with the superstructure built here in Australia. First steel was cut in Spain in September 2008. In this yard, the first steel for the superstructure was cut in November 2010, and at about the same time, the main masts were started at our shipyard in Western Australia. Transporting the hull from Spain was quite an undertaking, and for those of you who witnessed it, the hull arriving on the top of the Blue Marlin was certainly a tremendous sight. Once the hull arrived, we took on the task to consolidate the superstructure, install, integrate, and test all of the systems that bring this mighty ship to life. Now, the BAE Systems team here at Williamstown is a workforce of highly skilled tradespeople, as well as those with experience in shipbuilding management, engineering, integration, and testing of complex systems, and training and logistics support. It represents a sovereign capability that has grown and matured on LHD and on the air warfare destroyer blocks that we're also building here. An international project of this nature has further developed our skills and capabilities, which without doubt reinforces our shipbuilding credentials. Somebody's trying to break in, I think. In addition, it is also recognized that this experience is highly relevant in terms of future sustainment of the fleet. Now, together, everybody here represented in this room has played a part in bringing this ship to life. So when it enters service, it will have the highest capability of any ship in the Royal Australian Navy. As Chief Executive of the Prime Contractor, I pay tribute to all of you in helping us achieve the result we are witnessing here today. You should be very proud of your contribution. Present today, we also have members of the ship's crew who will take the ship to sea once it's commissioned later this year. These vessels will deliver defence, a new way of thinking in terms of joint operations, and I'm sure there are many in the Defence Forces that are very envious of you, the crews that are about to make that happen. And finally, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you for your hard work. Thank you for your ability to rise to the challenges that a project of this magnitude required. And most importantly, thank you for a job well done. Please give yourself a round of applause.
I'd just like to have a very short address to you on really two themes. And one is that a ship's life cycle is very much like our own life cycles, and I'll reflect on that in a bit. And the other thing I think is it's very personal. It's very personal to me, and I'm sure it's very personal to all of you. The concept for this ship was first floated in a white paper in 2000, and real project planning work commenced in about 2004, with the contract signed in 2007. And here we sit today with two magnificent ships in Williamstown dockyard. My own personal journey in shipbuilding commenced when I was in the Navy, and my first visit to this dockyard in around about 1972. Since then, I have been back on several projects, including as a contractor on the Anzac Ship project, and of course as a representative of government on the LHD and AWD projects. There are many people that I could reflect on today from various companies, but let me just touch on a few. And for those that I can't mention, I'm sorry. But my friend and co-worker at the start of the real project work here, Kim Gillis, now the CEO of Boeing Australia. Phil Brown, that took over from Kim and drove the project during those middle years. And a particular reflection on Craig Burke, who's done such a wonderful job for DMO as a DMO representative in managing that project. On the BAE side, I'd particularly like to, and there are others who have already been mentioned, but Marcus Alfonso, who's done a great job, and just a quiet reflection on Kelly Nutter, who we lost not so long ago. I'd particularly like to thank BAE as the prime contractor for the work they've done in bringing this ship to this current state, virtually ready for Navy, although as I reflected earlier, mine for a little while. Navantia, who's worked so hard both in its workforce in Spain and in supporting the construction in Australia. Saab, who I like to think now as our very own Australian integrator. L3, and of course the people in DMO. As I said, the ship's life cycle is very much like an analogy for personal life cycle. I've spoken to a number of you this morning, and there is I'd typify it as a sort of emptiness in that you know you've created a great vessel, you've all worked very, very hard in your various roles, and now it's going to leave you. But I can assure you, having been through these cycles many years, you will look back in great fondness and you will see the great things that this ship will do for Australia. I have no doubt that in the maritime sense, these two ships are one of our greatest acquisitions for the past very many decades. I have no doubt that it might be called upon, hopefully not, for the defence of Australia or our region, but I am certain that it will be called on for humanitarian relief, both in Australia and our region over the years to come. And you will be able to take great pride in the roles that you've played in making this happen. For the Navy folk here today, what an exciting day. It would go back to the early 70s where we've been able to operate two ships of this size in the Royal Australian Navy, and they weren't even quite this size. That was Melbourne and Sydney, the aircraft carriers. And here we sit today with the Navy almost on the verge of having these, been able to use them for the support and defence of Australia. I'm sure you'll be terribly, terribly excited to take NUSHIP Canberra to sea. I've also been particularly asked by the Chief of Navy to thank you all very, very much. As you're aware, the ship will be commissioned in Sydney, and so you won't be able to necessarily personally take part in that ceremony. But he has asked me to say to all of you very personally how much he appreciates all the work that has gone into making this ship the reality. And now it'll get its second life, from creation into use. And I certainly wish all the Navy folk a most enjoyable time and exciting time in taking this ship to sea. So in conclusion, you have all, indeed we have all, contributed to the ongoing security of the nation through the creation on the ship. On behalf of the DMO, the Navy and the Government of Australia, it's an honour to accept this ship today. Thank you all very much.
G'day folks, there isn't much that I have to say other than what's already been said by David and Warren. Ship is like life. We set it, we bring it to life, then the crew grab it and form it into the elegant person that it will be and shape it. And that's the RAN that will do that. And I'd like to thank Warren. Particularly tough year this year for us in the shipyard in losing a very loved person. But he would be looking down on us being very proud of what we've achieved. That's with his size 12s on and saying, God damn it, good on you. But what I'm here for is, Ship Being Life, is to introduce a person that has been good enough to create the bell rope for us. And I guess Dave first came to the Williamstown Naval Dockyard as a 16-year-old in 1963 when he joined Vendetta. He became interested in doing ropes while he was sitting there, watch on deck, bored as he could be on sea boats, etc., etc. Dave went on to serve 21 years in the Navy, retired as a warrant officer. He's a Vietnam veteran, and he served on several other ships that were part of this dockyard: Yarra, Duchess, Parramatta and Derwent. After leaving the Navy, Dave joined Williamstown Naval Dockyard, as it was known then, as a senior foreman for the painters and dockers section. That would have been a really easy job, that one. In '88, after the government of the day decided to privatise the shipyard, like everybody else in his section, made redundant, but a few months later, he was given the opportunity to come back. And shipyards and ships being in his blood, Dave jumped at that opportunity. Just goes to show blood is thicker than water. So Dave worked in the shipyard in Williamstown until 2011 when he retired, now sunning himself in the Gold Coast. He finished as the outfitting superintendent in charge of painting and installation. In the process, he took care of dockings and undockings and essentially taught the boat crews and sea deck crews how to handle ships. And many of you in the shipyard already know him. I've been watching him going around saying hello to some of the people that have lost their hair along the way. Look, during this time, Dave was involved in the construction of 2 FFGs, all 10 Anzacs, 3 vessels delivered out of Williamstown for Protector. During that time, he built bell ropes for all those ships, plus the 4 ships out of New Zealand, Project Protector. And once the ship's companies saw what he could and couldn't do, then they asked him for spare bell ropes and wardroom bell ropes. So there's a hint for the ship's company. But in between, and I really don't know how all that, he kind of had time to find a wife, Von, who's also joined us today, and had 3 children. So I think that's more down to Von than Dave, but we'll leave that one alone. A true services family. Dave's son is in the RAAF and he's currently serving in the Middle East, and both his daughters married Navy men, so kind of brings shipyards and Navy together. So when I approached him a year ago to do the bell rope for Canberra, Dave jumped at the opportunity. And the true quality of the man, both the material and his time, he's done of his own free will. So we and I are very honoured that Dave and family could join us here today to present Captain Jonathan Sadler, the Commanding Officer of Canberra, the ceremonial bell rope. May I please call both to the stage.
Afternoon, everybody. At this time, if you hope you have a glass nearby, you still have a glass in your hand somewhere, please raise your glass and join me in a toast. To NUSHIP Canberra, her captain, officers, crew, and passengers, may they sail to and return safely from any mission upon which they are called to serve. And to the teams of dedicated people across 3 continents that have applied their many skills and abilities, along with a great deal of hard work, to make this project the success that we're here celebrating today. Congratulations and cheers to all.